You know, there are these weapons of war that just never stop fighting. Long after the treaties are signed and the soldiers go home, they're still there, lying in wait. They turn fields, roads, even playgrounds into permanent battlefields. Today, we're talking about landmines and how they represent a kind of unfinished war for millions of people all over the globe. So let's dive in and see how we got here.
Okay, let's just start with a number. 7,224. That's how many people were killed or injured by landmines and other explosive remnants of war in just one recent year. Think about that. That's nearly one person every single hour. This is not a problem of the past. It is absolutely a clear and present danger.
So that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. How did a weapon, designed for a specific moment in a conflict, spiral into this decades-long crisis for peace? To figure that out, we really have to understand what these devices are and, maybe more importantly, what they were designed to do.
All right, let's start with the absolute core of the problem, who these weapons are actually harming.
Now, this chart, it tells you pretty much everything you need to know. Just look at that breakdown. A staggering 87% of landmine casualties are civilians. And get this, nearly half of those are children. That's not collateral damage. That is a feature of the weapon. They are, by their very nature, indiscriminate. A landmine has no way of knowing the difference between a soldier's boot and a child's foot.
So to really get why they're so dangerous for so long, we kind of need to pop the hood. What exactly is a landmine? How does it work? So here's the formal definition, which comes from the Ottawa Treaty that works to ban these things. But the key words to focus on here are presence, proximity, or contact. They are victim activated. They don't need a soldier to pull a trigger. The victim does all the work for them, sometimes years after the war is over.
And you should know, not all mines are created equal. You've got your big anti-tank mines, right? They need a huge amount of pressure to go off. But then you have these, anti-personnel mines. They need way less pressure, and they have a really grim strategic purpose. And here's the crucial point. They are often designed to maim, not to kill.
And the way they work is brutally simple and really efficient. Someone steps on the pressure plate. That move releases a spring-loaded firing pin which smacks a detonator. That tiny explosion from the detonator ignites a booster charge, and that, boom, sets off the main explosive. The whole thing happens in an instant.
Okay, so we've all seen that movie scene, right? The hero steps on a mine, hears the click, and is suddenly frozen. Can't lift their foot. Well, this slide right here completely debunks that myth. Mines are designed to go off immediately. The whole point is to injure the target right away, not to create some tense standoff. The movie version is pure fiction. The reality is way more sudden and way more devastating.
So to really understand their impact today, we have to look back at their history. I mean, this isn't a new technology. The whole idea of hidden, victim-activated weapons is actually ancient, but the way they've evolved over time has made them just exponentially more dangerous. You can trace the basic idea all the way back to sharpened caltrops used by the Romans, and then gunpowder devices in 14th century China. But World War II, that was a massive turning point. You get inventions like the infamous Bouncing Betty, S-mine, and mines made of wood or glass so they'd be harder to detect. Then the Cold War brings us scatterable mines. You could just drop thousands of them from a plane and make a huge area totally impassable in minutes.
And this brings us right back to that cold, calculated strategy we touched on earlier. Think about it. An injured soldier needs to be evacuated. They need medics, surgeons, long-term care, tying up a whole chain of personnel and resources. A dead soldier? Well, doesn't. That cold calculation is literally built into the design of so many of these anti-personnel mines. It's a weapon engineered to cause a logistical nightmare.
Now, faced with this growing humanitarian crisis, the world did start to respond. So the story of landmines isn't just about conflict. It's also about a global campaign to finally put an end to them.
The really big moment was the 1997 Ottawa Treaty. This thing bans the use, the stockpiling, and the production of anti-personnel mines. And as you can see, the vast majority of the world's nations, 164 of them, have signed on. It's actually one of the most successful disarmament treaties in modern history. But it's not complete.
And that's because some major military powers, including China, Russia, and the United States, haven't joined. They often cite things like national security concerns and the idea that these weapons are still a military necessity. Their absence means millions of mines are still sitting in stockpiles, and that goal of a universal ban remains just out of reach.
And this leads us to our final section, and right back to our title. Because despite all the global progress, for so many people, this is still very, very much an unfinished war. The legacy they've left behind is just staggering. We're talking millions of hectares, an area bigger than many countries that are still contaminated. And this isn't just empty land, this is farmland that can't be planted, roads that can't be traveled, and villages where kids can't play safely. The mines basically enforce a state of poverty and fear long, long after the fighting has stopped.
So why can't we just clean them all up? Well, it is incredibly difficult. The challenges, as you can see here, are just immense. It's slow, it's dangerous, it's painstaking work. A lot of modern mines are made almost entirely of plastic, making them nearly invisible to detectors. And maybe the real kicker, in so many conflicts, no one ever made maps of the minefields. That means every single square meter of ground is a potential threat.
And this is so important to remember. This isn't just about cleaning up the past. New mines are being laid right now. In current conflicts in places like Syria, Myanmar, and Ukraine, both factory-made and improvised mines are being used all the time, creating a brand new generation of contaminated land and future victims.
So that leaves us with this final, really tough question. We're in this constant race, right? The deminers are painstakingly clearing the weapons of yesterday, while soldiers are deploying the weapons of today. It really forces you to ask, is a world completely free of this threat even an achievable goal, or is it a dream that will always be just out of our reach?